And you're now.
That's a pretty good bebop.
And then now you're
started. But how do we know you're now live streaming? Okay.
Up here too.
Yeah.
Oh, let me just do that.
Viewers
okay, so,
zero.
I will try. See.
Yeah, that's the
it
output.
worked.
That it's like checked that you're outputting there.
Oh, now it's like live. Click here to open the browser to view the stream.
Oh, we can watch it from here. Oh wait, no, this is from
How
the
come
beginning.
there's no sound?
Because it's muted.
Where?
Can you hover? Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, we can watch it from here. Oh wait, no, this is from
How
the
come there's
beginning.
no
Hey,
sound?
so it's delayed.
Like
but
going
it's-
forward, recording is gonna pick up the sound that's
Where?
there, and then what we say now.
Oh.
That's why it's muted. We
Yeah.
watch it automatically. Oh wait, no, this is
How
from the
come there's
beginning.
no
Hey,
sound?
so it's delayed.
Like
but
going
it's-
forward, recording is gonna pick up the sound that's
Where?
there, and then.
Oh, we're still
what we
recording
say.
now, right?
Yes.
That's why it's muted.
Oh, at this very moment.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hey, so it's delayed. but it's-
So this is like
Oh,
30
yeah,
seconds
right.
in the past. There, and then.
Oh, we're still recording now, right?
Yeah.
So there's like a 30 seconds delay, right?
Yeah, like 20, 30 seconds.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool. I think we're good on this. So we just need to rehearse on the actual content. Think about how
Yeah.
to say it.
In the order.
How do you feel? How do you feel?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I feel like the Chinese parts, if I'm like comparing mainland Chinese to Taiwanese,
to writing emails.
Okay, so thanks, Jim.
it's kind of that's the part I want to rehearse the most, because it's like it's not just thoughts, it's like a skill. Like if it's not just speaking Chinese, it's speaking two types of Chinese, and people are going to be listening really intently.
Yeah.
So that's the one part that it's not that I can't do it, it's that I have to practice, because otherwise I said, oh, 你喜欢吃什么? I added the 吃 into the Taiwanese one because I was mixing them. So I just need to make sure that I know.
Let me print out that thing.
Okay.
Do you want to rehearse it?
Sure.
Well, what's your schedule? Do you need to talk to Xue?
No, because not really. I mean, he's just doing his thing. He put in everything for the iteration, and I reviewed it, and he can't do the quiz stuff. So the last thing I just said was, oh, okay, so you can't do that. So I could talk to him about that either. It's not like I need to talk to him on the phone today, so...
Okay.
I just want to catch up with them and find out exactly what they're doing. And then I can talk to them tomorrow.
Okay.
He's probably... I think also I should kind of let you lead, right? Like I'm almost like being interviewed by you. Otherwise I might talk over you. Like I'm not supposed to be like, all right, so what I think is, or is it more like 50-50? Or just
you don't like the questions asked me this morning. I think you're not a student.
Okay.
You're here to
Okay.
I would say you're like advanced student.
Yeah.
You're helping out your fellow students,
Yep.
right? So you're here to help,
Okay.
and it's almost like you're a few steps in advance.
Yeah,
then-
and they might be thinking, oh, like kind of like this is a taste of me maybe doing more stuff with you later.
Yes,
Okay, cool.
like a role model.
So I should be like, all right, so the difference is when you think about, like I'm addressing the students directly rather than, because there's like an attitude I could take, which is more like you're asking me a question and I give you my opinion. And you say, well, see, students, look at this example. This is the blah, blah, blah. Or there's one where I'm like, yeah, the difference between blah, blah, blah. And I'm more like directly addressing the students.
Directly.
Okay, yeah. Because that's different in my mind, right? One of them is more passive, where I'm just kind of like waiting for you to ask me. And the other one is where I'm more like, yeah, so the reason we wanted to talk about this today was...
Think of this as a co-host.
Yeah, okay.
Or like a...
That's the difference. Am I either a guest or a co-host?
So when you do podcast at Chinese Pod, what was that? What was that like?
It was co-host, except I had to learn to kind of like acclimate into that feeling, because it's hard when you first start. You know, like Jenny, and she's so established, and you're so established that you're like, you know, obviously we'll have to build that dynamic over time. But if I know that I'm supposed to be working towards that and acting that way rather than as a guest, I think that's good to establish.
Yes.
Before we start.
Yeah.
Because then I'll be more likely to say, you know, but I wouldn't recommend you blah, 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 rather than I wouldn't recommend blah, blah, blah. In my opinion, it's like I'm either telling you or I'm telling them.
Okay, so visually,
Yeah.
It's always better you look at the
Hello,
camera.
everybody! Hello. I'm Josh.
Oh, it scared me.
I'm waiting in the chat. Do we really just do that intro?
18,000 views. No one cares about your band.
And checking out the...
thought they were watching us.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, let me print that out.
So I want it to be also like, the feeling is like, a lot of people ask this question, like, should I learn Chinese in Taiwan or should I learn it in the mainland? And what's the difference? And that
Your
I'm here
experience
to
sharing.
I'm here to tell them, like, you know, this is my opinion. Like, you know, we can recommend, this is the way you think about it, right?
Like, yeah, it's really about remember when we were telling the blog writer, it's like when you take your mom to China
Yeah.
and you turn around and explaining how China is to
Yep.
your mom.
Yep.
That's your role.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm like a local tour guide and you're like a tour guide who can bridge better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I think we should just try it.
Yeah. I think it's
with
gonna be
with no
good.
cuts. So then we can, or at least the first time we can have cuts and stuff.
No, we can do lots of cuts now. It's okay because
Yeah.
now we don't have the pressure.
Right.
Right, when I have the pressure, I'm pretty sure we're gonna just keep moving. We're not gonna like.
But just to establish the best sequence of what we discussed, because on that in that doc, like it would be very easy to move things around. Like talking about the difference between traditional and simplified. Does that come after we recommend where to work, or where to study, or does that come when we talk about the difference between the two?
We need to cut out a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's way too much. If we only have a few things and we expand, and then people can really, we need to think about what we want our students to walk away with.
I think it should start with just about me working here, and then we say, okay, wow, you're the product manager. We're working on a brand new version of the website. We should mention that and be like, that's still in the works right now, but you'll be seeing some cool stuff from that soon. But you know, Jason started working with us after living in China and Taiwan for over 10 years, 5 years, like you just did. And then I go, yep, and so it's been a very interesting experience learning, you know, 2 different types of Chinese, like, and that's blah blah blah. And then we say, you can be like, all right, so let's break it down. Like, what is the actual difference between Mandarin in China and Mandarin in Taiwan? And we'll say
Mandarin in mainland.
Yeah, Mandarin in mainland China and Mandarin in Taiwan. That's hard for me. And then we'll say, okay, like, you know, we'll summarize it. So we'll say, all right, everybody knows the biggest difference is obviously that the mainland China uses simplified Chinese characters and Taiwan uses the older traditional Chinese characters. And that's because Taiwan was already a separate part. Oh, damn, that's really hard. We don't have to say that. I was going to say because it wasn't a part of China when the revolution happened and all this, like the
That's
Mao,
no
the
history. Yeah.
So, and
What is
Taiwan
Mao?
uses the traditional characters still, which mainland China used to use in the past, and Hong Kong still uses as well. So that's the biggest difference. And the second biggest difference is probably just the accent. The Mandarin that's spoken in Taiwan is an official form of Mandarin called Taiwanese Mandarin. And the official Mandarin that's spoken in mainland China is called Putonghua, right? Standard Mandarin. And they're very similar, but they have some little differences in the accent, especially when it comes to the zhi, chi, shi sounds. And technically speaking, I would say the Taiwanese one is a little bit, you hear Taiwanese Mandarin less than mainland Chinese out and about. So maybe, we don't have to say that necessarily, but I was going to say, like, I'm trying to lean towards mainland Chinese being more standard. But we can kind of mention that later. Because I want to, at the end, say, we consider the mainland accent the better recommendation. That's the one you should imitate. That's the way you should learn because there's more mainland speakers, because there's more opportunities, except if you really want to go to Taiwan or whatever. But so then we'll say that's the second biggest difference. And then the third difference is just some vocabulary and grammar differences that over time, from having the languages being separate, the dialects being kind of separate, the accents being separate for so long, certain things like technologies or new words that were introduced at different times are different, and then also some small grammatical differences between the two. But that might sound like a lot, but in reality, they're actually very similar. If you learn one, you go to, if you're used to one and you go to mainland China, you're fine. If you learn mainland Chinese and you go to Taiwan, you're fine. That kind of thing, right? We summarize it, and you go, wow, okay, so let's talk about the characters. And then we go back, right? And we're like, so blah, 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 does it matter? And we talk about typing. And like, no, I don't think it really matters these days. Maybe something like that, right? And then we're like, all right, let's talk about the difference in the actual words or something like that, maybe. And maybe we need to also say something more interesting, like in the beginning, like, people always argue about this on the internet, right? About which one's better and what should I learn. And we want to say that, don't worry so much about this issue. You can basically just pick the one that you find you're more interested in and in the end, you're gonna be more happy. But I don't know. I'm trying to think of what.
So I
That
think-
would be my inclination, but I think you have way more experience doing this and setting up the order than I do. So
Yeah, let me bring out the
Yeah.
thing, and we can switch around a little
I'm
bit.
sure you'll have. I think you probably have a better sense of the order.
The order is this, like when I introduce you, like really quick, right? Let's not mention anything about Yo-Yo Chinese. Like,
Okay.
It's just like, boom, give them like things that they're like, whoa, I'm learning, you know, it's like stuff like that, right? So something about you, and then highlight your experience in both, and then you speak really good Chinese, and I want to establish you as like, when you speak Chinese, and I think you're a local, right?
Okay.
So something like that. And then we talk about the difference, and you know, like, I think that for this kind of show, like, you know, like let's like dong pong pong. It's like our like constantly back and forth.
Okay.
That's gonna like work really really well.
Okay.
Like for example, if you mention the accent, traditional characters, right? I'm even thinking we should maybe have we're gonna learn how to do it tomorrow. We have like a slide.
That's
Right?
playing.
Yeah, then we're showing students, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. So they have like structure, and then we switch back to us. Because if it's just us, that's why we need to use props as well. So it's
Yeah, we're trying to
visually
provide structure.
interesting.
Yeah.
Visually interesting as well. No, you're doing just beautifully. You're doing so beautifully there. And you're like a very engaging talker. Like actually when you talk, it's yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I have my problem is that I ramble. So I have to be careful with that. Sometimes, like I take too long to explain my idea, and if there's a pause, I just keep talking because I'm like, oh, they don't understand. That's a normal conversation too. So I need to learn to stop. Like once I've explained it, jump right in. Feel free to like interrupt me more.
But it won't look good on there. Like,
Well, not interrupt, but like if I pause for a second, be like, yeah, exactly, and take the ball.
Okay,
Because
good.
otherwise, I'll just keep going. Is what
Cool.
I'm saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
isn't
yeah.
good. So.
No, I think
Yeah,
we're gonna be a good pair.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Like pair?
Mm-hmm.
Like good. Okay. Okay, let me print it out.
Okay, I'll get some water. Or a good team, I think.
I'll
you would
turn
say.
it off. This is like blinding.
Bro, I think jet lagging. shot. What's this for? Oh, thank you. I have a big line on my head.
Okay. So, let's cross out things that you feel like you don't feel strong about, and
Okay.
or that we want to give students the most useful thing that they actually can use. So yesterday we mentioned that let's delete the 博客部落格 right?
好。网路也可以。
地铁、捷运。I think 出租车 is important for people who actually go there, right?
Yep.
摩托车、机车 no, 自行车、脚踏车 no. Yeah? 垃圾 no. Yeah?
Yeah, Lissa's the only interesting. It's a little bit special because of the joke about the laji. So I can tell a story about that one.
Yeah, the
Like what I would say is,
What would you say?
yeah, one really one difference you'll notice, one word difference you'll notice really quickly in Taiwan is that instead of saying 垃圾桶, they say 垃圾桶. And you might think, that's so weird. Why do they say something totally different? And that's because of the influence of Taiwanese, the local Taiwanese dialect. Not Taiwanese Mandarin, but Taiwanese dialect, which is like Minanhua. And the word laji in Taiwanese sounds really weird. It sounds like making out with somebody. So maybe I don't know. But then we have to explain Taiwanese local language.
Yeah, the thing is, if I explain to you, why Spanish, like Spain, Spanish, and Mexican, their origin stuff, is that interesting to you?
Well, it's not the origin. I'm just thinking like, yeah, it gets confusing. Not if it's interesting or not, but it gets confusing because we keep saying Taiwanese Mandarin, and then there's another thing called Taiwanese, which is Taiyu.
Oh, let's not touch that.
Yeah, Taiyu is, that's why they say 垃圾, that's why 什么什么都不同的那个.
Yeah, let's not go there.
好。
So.
那我们就不要说垃圾好了。
Yeah. So I think 和 and 汉 is very, right? And 地道到地,
You guys want to do an hour, 45 minutes, 30 minutes length for the thing?
just do half an hour.
Half an hour?
Let me think. How long do you think we need?
I don't know. We'd have to test it. I have
45
no
minutes,
idea.
maybe.
45 minutes? Okay.
Let's do 30 minutes, then we can... No, 45 minutes.
Okay.
30 minutes like presentation, 15 minutes Q&A.
Okay. Cool.
没了。还有一个。
There's more. Do you want me to bring more?
That's okay.
So, 地道, maybe 地道 and 道地, I think that's a little bit too...
Specific.
What's the 很棒?
Like the Taiwanese people say, 很棒啊，真棒，很棒啊。你们会讲吗？
Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was Taiwanese.
It's 超棒, 很棒. Yeah, we'll do that.
Like 超漂亮，那超好啊，超好玩的。That's
Yeah,
very
we do that.
Taiwanese though.
My
Originally.
friends say that too.
Oh really? Yeah, it's become normal, but when I first got
You know, for 西红柿番茄, like it is a difference, but I don't think anybody would care. Right?
Especially because 番茄酱 is also used in the mainland, so.
Yeah, like 网路. Yeah. Yeah, so I would just say the rest are nah.
What about like 哪有？在哪？ Like they often say like 在哪？在哪里？在哪？在哪里？在这。They don't say 这儿 and they don't say 这边, they just say 这哪。
他们说在这里吗？
Yeah, but they'll often say 在这，在哪？
在这。
那没有啊，那边有吗？ Actually,
The
whatever.
thing is that is not necessarily between the difference between men, like
Right,
Taiwanese.
that's just Arohain.
Like, it's like north and south, southern part of China.
Yeah, cool. Let's not do that.
Yeah.
So the ones, I think actually the vocab differences we should do is 传简讯, 发短信. I think that one is really useful because people say this all the time now. 你发短信给我，给我发短信，给我传简讯。
传简讯.
They do not say 短信, and they were like, what? They're like, what are you talking about? Right?
Okay.
And it's like something that people do all the time. So if it's useful, I think that's just as useful as 出租车、计程车. Right.
I'm just thinking in terms of like our BCC, what we touched. That's why.
Nice, yeah.
Like I'm just gonna send a text message. That was like less than 100 something. But if I send text message.
That doesn't matter as much, does it?
Yeah.
Because the people watching this, we want to get new people. So whether or not we've touched on this in a lesson is actually not that important in my mind.
Sure.
Right? Because this is all about attracting new people who have never signed up.
Okay.
So I think it doesn't matter.
The only I have a little hesitation because this is like more on
Too
the complicated
difficult.
side, yeah. You know, especially like 发短信 is fine, right? 传简讯 that's like it's like very
It's hard to
foreign,
say,
yeah.
yeah.
And then 简 is like short for 简单, right? But most people say 容易, right? 讯 is like 讯息 that's like almost like a very advanced,
Formal.
yeah, very advanced.
I mean, we can just skip it. But I'm just saying, like, as far as the ones that we thought of that affected me the most moving there. Like I still said 发短信 for like a year after living there because I didn't want to say 传简讯.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can go through everything to see like how much time we have and yeah. So okay, the thing I want to touch like your introduction of Jason, right? I want to mention. So you're the project manager for PM, and you are
Should we talk about the work we've been doing recently? Like working on the
I
new
think-
site or not even mention it?
at the end.
Okay.
Like if people ask like, hey, like are you guys gonna have any stuff
Yeah.
coming up? Yeah, no, we can do that. It's like, you know, when you go to a YouTube video, I hate those guys who are like start promoting themselves. You know,
Immediately.
I'm the so and so from like like .com, right? I'm like, I
Yeah.
say I don't care. I just give me what I want.
Right.
Right. So okay, you're from PM, and then like you're the PM of Yo-Yo Chinese, and you have extensive experience living in both mainland China and
Right.
Taiwan.
You could be like, you have the special experience of living in both mainland China and Taiwan. You can say a lot of people who learn Chinese pick one or the other, but you've actually lived in both. So
Yes.
that gives you a unique perspective
Yes.
on the Chinese language learning experience, because many people struggle with choosing, oh, maybe I should go to Taiwan and learn Chinese. Maybe I should go to mainland China and learn Chinese, but you did both.
Yeah.
And maybe you can ask me why. You know, I can say, well, or instead of you saying that, you can ask me why, and I'll say that's why. I'll be like, well, you know, because I was focusing on learning Chinese as a second language, I thought it'd be really good for my career and for my own personal experience and my language ability to experience both mainland Chinese China and Chinese in Taiwan. You know, and
Okay.
And learn both simplified and traditional characters.
You oh wow, okay. Okay, so the PM part, and then you have special experience and unique perspective, and I think the part that's really good is that you understand both simplified and traditional, and you speak Chinese without an accent. Yeah.
But I do, but we can make the joke that I do now because I speak with a Taiwanese accent.
But so when you're in mainland China, did you have an accent as well? Did you have a mainland
No,
accent?
I was already very, like, I've always, from the very beginning, had people tell me, oh, you sound like a native speaker. Like,
No, when you're in mainland China, did you sound like a mainland Chinese
Yeah.
speaker?
they're all from Dongbei. I always had, like, a pretty good Dongbei. People, or actually, no, that was more like my attitude. Jenny at Chinese Pod always said, you act like a Dongbeiren when you speak Chinese.
No, this is all good. You know, like I think that whenever you blurt out like some little Chinese words here or there, I think that the students love it. It's
Okay.
like they're saying, "Oh, I understand that word," you know.
But I wonder what should I say, though? Like, I think this is why this section is pretty good. This stuff. So one of the things, like, you could ask me, like, what were some of the, like, cultural differences you experienced from moving between mainland China and Taiwan that involved language? You know, I can be like, well, the biggest one for me was that in China, when you want to get a waiter's attention, you yell, 服务员, 服务员, and you can put your hand up, you can yell, and you can say 服务员, and it's not rude, it's totally the normal way to address somebody. But in Taiwan, that's totally weird. Nobody does that. So I was like, 服务员, and then people would look at me.
What would you say in Taiwan?
小姐,先生, or 不好意思.
Oh, yeah, you like I can say
And
in
you have
mainland
to-
China these days, like sometimes people try to avoid the word 小姐, right?
Yeah.
Because it can have the
Negative
negative
connotation.
connotation, right?
And it does not in Taiwan, and it's actually, or ai, right? But actually, they're almost, you should say 小姐even if they're old because it's polite. But the biggest difference is that you can't yell it. So you should say and they do this weird thing where they like bow, kind of like Japanese. We don't have to mention that, but they do. They're like, oh, 不好意思, 不好意思, 小姐. And they put their finger up or something, and it's different than 服务员. Just yelling it as loud. We used to yell it as loud as we could to see if Chinese people care, and they didn't.
Yeah,
care.
because in China, people have a sense of entitlement, right? They feel
Yeah.
like they are the god. In China, we have this saying, 顾客就是上帝. Like, customers are God.
Wow.
So like, everybody has that kind of mentality, like, hey, I walk into a shop, I walk into a
Right.
restaurant, serve me. I'm always right.
I also feel like, and you can tell me if this is true or not, but it's kind of like a 随便 mentality too. Like, it's not a big deal if you say something direct. You're very direct. 服务员, and I kind of appreciated that about the experience in China.
But why do you think the mainland Chinese have that versus Taiwanese?
I don't know. Doesn't that have to do with Mao, actually? Didn't he say 客套话 and 礼貌话 is like classism? And so he said you shouldn't use...
Yeah, let's, like for
let's
things
avoid
that,
that,
for
yeah.
things that you don't understand, let's not
Yeah.
mention it. Because
Okay.
because this is not like a place where we explore things, and you can go forever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just mentioning that to you because I'm like,
Oh.
isn't that why? I think Mao had like a campaign against speaking politely, using 客套话 and what's that called?
But what you just said, like when you say 服务员, that's not 客套话. That's
Right.
not 客套.
Exactly.
So you're saying the Chinese trying to
Yeah,
develop?
Mao was like, you should not be all polite. You should just no more like super polite manners. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
I think it's really
I'm just trying to put a positive spin on what you were saying, how everyone in China felt entitled. And I'm saying, actually, I kind of enjoyed that part of China
I
because
see.
it's very direct and easy and 随便.
maybe like point out, like maybe I shouldn't use that word sense of entitlement. I would say Chinese people have this like mentality, right?
Yeah,
顾客就是上帝.
that's what you just said.
But I don't have like, I shouldn't have like put a negative spin on it.
Yep.
Okay.
You just say, yeah, Chinese people, when they're in restaurants, they have this sense of like, I'm the customer, I'm always right, and
And like, because we have a saying, that supports that, right? I'll just say that.
then I'll respond and say, yeah, and you say, well, what do they say in Taiwan or something? And I'll say, well, they just say 小姐 or 先生, depending on if it's a girl or a guy. And you'll say, oh, yeah, that's kind of weird in China because sometimes if you say 小姐, it can be kind of weird. And oh, right, but in Taiwan, there's no problem with that.
And so, and also meant to just speaking of 小姐, right? What you say, if you call somebody 小姐, it's not necessarily they'll be offended. But if somebody says, "Oh, 她是小姐,"
Yeah.
and then you'll know that means like she's a prostitute.
Yeah.
Should I use the word prostitute?
She's a lady of the night.
Oh, I should just say that. Yeah, she's
and
the
that's kind of
lady of the
funny.
night. Yeah.
But say it in a joking way. She's a lady
Where
of
she
the
has
night.
the world's oldest profession.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And say in Taiwan, I think if you said that in a certain rude way, maybe it would sound bad, but typically speaking, yeah. And they also, but they also just say 不好意思,不好意思. That's the other thing. So we could skip the 小姐先生 thing if we wanted to.
No, that's good.
All right.
I think like for us, whatever Chinese words we mention that they hear, they understand, like get them excited, right? It doesn't have to be long sentences. Just it's a cultural insights plus
Yep.
insights plus the simple word.
Here's another one. Not 买单, they say 结账.
That's good.
I just remembered. 我要结账,不好意思结账. You can say 买单 and they'll understand you.
结账.
And that's something we should mention at the end.
But we do 结账 too.
But they don't say, 我要结账. Do you?
哎，你好，我结账，我爸爸说。
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's like more polite, formal, kind of?
买单结。
Kind of depends on the niceness of the restaurant, right? If it's like a really crappy
No,
little place.
my mom and dad, they always say 结账. The reason I say 买单 because that's what I taught our students.
I've
it's
always
easy,
heard 买单 in Shanghai.
because it's
买单.
easy to learn. It's MAIDAN, right?
Yeah.
结账 is a JRE, and ZHANG. You don't teach that, right?
But I legitimately didn't ever hear 结账 until I moved to Taiwan. Maybe I wasn't listening for it, but...
For example, like in China, if I say 买单, and then the 服务员 be like, hey, 结账. Like, then she would say
So
to
both.
other people, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so what is Taiwan going and how is different than 普通话? I think I want to skip this part actually.
Okay.
I want to start with to give people a framework, right? Why this is important, right? Because if I learn Spanish, I want to learn the difference between Mexican Spanish and Spanish, right? So, and then you can talk about when you start learning Chinese. Very, very just briefly, that you were actually doing research the difference, but it's like.
I'd say when I first started learning Chinese, I always heard that in Taiwan they spoke a kind of a different version of Chinese with a different accent. And that always made me curious, what's the difference? So I looked it up online and there wasn't very many clear answers. But I knew that I was going to go to China, I knew that I was going to go to mainland China, so I focused on the mainland standard Putonghua accent. But I always knew that there was this difference or whatever. And then I think we also mentioned, like, sometimes you hear it on TV. Blah, blah, blah.
I'm just thinking what we should delete. Maybe like we shouldn't even. Is that a common sense that Taiwanese Mandarin versus mainland Mandarin is just like the equivalent of British?
I use that all
English?
the time, and I say that to people.
But
like
is it common
foreigners.
sense?
No, but they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So like you explained, like, because maybe what I just said, I can finish that by saying that. So I'll say, I heard about this, how there's a difference between this Taiwanese Mandarin and mainland Chinese, and eventually what I came to understand is that it's a lot more like an accent, like the difference between British English and American English, where it sounds different, as in we speak differently, a little bit of a different accent, but they're mutually intelligible. So anyone from Taiwan can understand from China, and anyone from China can understand from Taiwan.
Exactly.
Because that's the part that makes people go, oh, I get it. They're not different languages, they're not different dialects, it's the same language, just a different accent.
Right. And so you can talk about accents, and I'll be saying, and also there's a difference between the written language, right? Taiwanese use the traditional Chinese characters,
That's right.
and mainland China uses simplified, but there are 80% overlapping between the two.
Yep.
So even though they're different, they're not that different.
They're not as
we're
different.
not streaming, okay.
We are streaming.
We are? Oh, no.
Wouldn't it be